you're right that I've said it so many times that you don't realize what someone does or their,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
impact of the career till they're gone. But, um, being able to pave your own path while drawing on the experiences of others, I think is really important, because you're right. Like you said, if you fall back into like similar mistakes of someone else, or like sometimes you got to go through it yourself. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of instances that with dating life or with like other things, like it's so hard in the moment to think, to listen to your friends on the
Yeah.
outside. They see it, and
Yeah.
you're in the middle of a relationship that isn't necessarily good for either of you or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you just got to go through it and make that
Learn your own
mistake for
mistakes.
yourself, because
Exactly.
really, like that's the easiest way to learn. Like the mistakes I've made at work, in
Mhm.
school. I will never forget the time that I skimped on sources for a speech my freshman year of
Yeah.
college. Like you don't forget those
Mhm.
experiences. Um, but yeah, I don't know.
It's the whole reason why we made this podcast. I feel like is that we kind of learn from people's mistakes as well as their positive experiences equally,
Absolutely.
and how we can set our own path with that. And it's really important to understand that no matter what we say or do, it's going to be, our own story. And we're just
Yeah.
using, I guess, to kind of give a little bit of an example from what you were talking about, using their experience as a source, like as a reference source, to kind of be like,
Yeah.
okay, we can base our journey off of something somebody else did, while at the same time maintaining our own narrative.
Hmm.
And I think that's important because we've become so, just for lack of a better term, hell bent on creating an image in the likeliness of the people that we are like inspired by. So like you see somebody like a professional baseball player, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be that person, and you will do whatever it takes, in the weight room and, on the field, off the field, eating right, all this sort of stuff, because you want to be like them. And that's fine. It's great for motivation. But oftentimes it's unfortunate that you lose sight and you lose track of the idea. Well, hey, I'll never be able to be that person. It's great that
Yeah.
I'm trying to find that way and find that path to become more like them, but I have to be true to myself in some things, or
Yeah.
in most. Like it's one thing to, change some sort of lifestyle choices and stuff like that, but you start seeing a lot of this mimicry, like this idea that we need to be almost as similar as possible to people that we think are successful, and we're only judging that based off of the positive stuff. Like you see the person raking in $300 million, or you see the
Yeah.
person making brand deal after brand deal, whether it's on social media or it's on some sort of sports platform, or you see them on TV or whatnot. They're dropping amazing music, all these sorts of things that people are just the top of their field. They become role models in a way that people want to aspire to be them.
Yep.
But I feel like sometimes it really detracts from individuality and the idea that we as a single person are as unique as almost anything on this planet. Like,
Hmm.
we're all different, and we try to be so alike to other people that we lose that. And it's unfortunate, but we see that more and more today as, trends and stuff
I'm
continue.
really glad you brought that up, because I struggled with it and I still do. I mean, it's so hard to escape it.
Yeah.
But, you know, thinking back to some of the decisions I make, like material decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like what I'm going to like buy because my friend has, a pair of this, so I'll get a different colorway. Or I saw, my favorite athlete wearing these, cleats, so I'm going to get similar ones. Like you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
This like fine line of mimicry versus like infatuation with it, where you want to like endure that experience too. Like
Mhm.
like when you're a kid, like for me it was Jeff Jenkins, right?
Yeah.
I watch him growing up, and that, like you said, makes you, you imitate his batting stance, and
Yeah. Yep.
all of that. You want to be that, but like as you grow up, it's more so about like fitting in.
Yeah.
And like you said, it detracts from being authentic.
Yeah.
And that's, one of the things that I want to keep striving towards, because everyone is their own person.
Mhm.
Everyone has their own intentions. Everyone has their own goals. But when everyone tries to be like the same person,
Yeah.
you miss out. You're too worried about, oh, I'm gonna, look just like this person, or like try to, and like that's not what it's about.
Yeah. And it's perfectly okay to want to be, to want to have the same amount of success as other people. Like
Yeah.
that's the inherent drive that we have, is to be as successful as possible, regardless if that's monetarily or just spiritually or whatever it is. Like that's a perfectly acceptable desire.
Yeah.
But when it comes at the cost of sacrificing who you are as an individual and a unique individual, um, that kind of takes away from the idea that it's, that it's the true meaning of success. Like,
Yeah.
is the true meaning of success really being, a carbon copy of somebody else? Like, does that, I don't understand how that is successful. And that could just be me and like kind of my interpretation of it. But there's a fine line, and we
Yeah.
tiptoe it every day. And I'm not going to be like sit on here and preach from the soapbox saying that, I don't try to copy anybody. Like, no,
Yeah.
like I have numerous things in my room that I'm looking at right now that I purchased or that I have as that were inspired by other people. Like,
Hmm.
you included, like you've
Yeah.
gotten stuff, and like I'm sure it's the same way. And so like we do this, but it's the fact that we can do it consciously and understanding.
Yeah. And I think also like not, oh, it's escaping me. This idea of not being present
Yeah.
at the expense of, so, that's I don't want to say I have like regrets, but I have this like fear of missing out a lot.
FOMO, baby. It's
Yeah,
real.
well, it's real, and it affects me sometimes,
Yeah.
where it's like I'm so focused on being a part of the experience, as opposed like maybe it's going out with friends for a night and you just don't want to miss out on the experience and like what
Mm-hmm.
happens, or be out of the know like the next morning, we're like, oh, did you see what so and
Yeah.
so did at the bar? Like on nights where I might should have just gotten 8 hours of sleep and went to class the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing, and being authentic and being present, I think, is what it's all about, and not, recognizing that your life is totally different from someone else's. And,
Yeah.
if you make some decisions along the way that kind of stray towards them, it's all about who you surround yourself with
It
too,
is. Yeah.
and that kind of helps those types of decisions. But